The intersection of technology, social media, and human conflict has been a complex and often ominous tale, with perhaps no narrative more emblematic of this confluence than the Rohingya crisis in Myanmar. The catastrophic events that unfolded in 2017, resulting in the displacement and brutal persecution of nearly 1 million Rohingya Muslims, revealed the dark side of Facebook's influence on society. This narrative is a chilling reminder that, as we navigate the digital age, the impact of technology on vulnerable communities demands careful consideration.
Messages and disinformation, inflammatory fake stories spread.
Kutupalong,
the
nestled
largest
at the southern
refugee
tip of
camp in the world,
Bangladesh,
is near.
stands as a somber testament to the Rohingya's plight. In 2017, the sprawling refugee camp became home to those fleeing the horrors of Myanmar, where a combination of military actions and civilian complicity orchestrated a brutal ethnic cleansing. Thousands lost their lives. Entire villages were reduced to ashes. While the geopolitical tensions in Myanmar laid the groundwork for the Rohingya crisis, Facebook emerged as an unwitting accomplice in the tragedy.
Relations with the United States.
The platform, intended to foster global connection and communication, became a breeding ground for hate speech and disinformation. Extremist figures like Ashin Wu exploited Facebook's algorithmic design, maximizing engagement and creating an echo chamber that fueled animosity towards the Rohingya.
Half of 1% to 40%. And I know that might not sound like a lot if you're in the United States and everybody is on the internet, but when you were in a society where no one is online and suddenly half of the country is online, that is huge.
Myanmar's transition from a secluded state to an interconnected society occurred in tandem with the rapid proliferation of smartphones and the internet. Facebook, with its partnerships with local phone providers, swiftly became the primary source of information for a population newly exposed to the online world. The unintended consequence was the rapid dissemination of hate speech that intensified long-standing ethnic tensions. As early as 2012, journalists, digital researchers, and concerned individuals raised alarms about the dangerous trajectory fueled by Facebook's influence in Myanmar. Ella Kellen, a researcher, even flew to Silicon Valley to warn Facebook executives about the gravity of the situation. These warnings fell on deaf ears. The company, fixated on growth and expansion, remained indifferent to the escalating humanitarian crisis. The turning point came in 2016 and 2017 when the Myanmar military launched clearance operations against the Rohingya. Facebook, with its algorithm amplifying extremist content, played a pivotal role in radicalizing public sentiment. The military's propaganda, disseminated through the platform, fueled hatred and justified violent actions against the Rohingya.
The Facebook algorithm learns to promote in Myanmar very quickly is hatred of the Muslim minority.
It wasn't until after the violence had subsided that Facebook took minimal steps to address its role in the crisis. In 2018, the company finally removed pages associated with senior military officials spreading misinformation. However, the damage had been done, and the lack of a proactive response from Facebook raised questions about its commitment to ethical practices.
If emergency has been declared in Western Burma, where deadly clashes between Buddhists and Muslims have killed at least 17 people. Hundreds of homes were set alight.
The first massive outbreak of violence in this era happened in 2012.
We're burning Rohingyas' houses because they live near our village and they gather at night and try to attack us.
As of 2023, Kutupalong continues to host over 1 million Rohingya refugees, grappling with the aftermath of displacement and trauma.
Hey, this was a extreme authoritarian military dictatorship, closed off from the outside world, that is opening up, they're having elections, they're having democracy, they're turning away from China towards the West. Isn't this great? Just a month after this first spat of violence, President Obama visits Myanmar and meets with the government. Foreign companies continue to invest in the economy of Myanmar, and Facebook's presence as a key source of information continues to spread.
Rohingya's desire to return to Myanmar faces insurmountable challenges due to the unchanged political landscape persistent risks. Meanwhile, Facebook's claim of improved practices has been questioned, with investigations revealing ongoing issues in regulating hate speech and misinformation on its platform.
Murdered here in March when religious violence swept through this city in central Myanmar.
The Rohingya crisis stands as a cautionary tale, urging a re-evaluation of the role technology plays in shaping societal narratives.
And once again, what started in the newsfeed turns into a violent Buddhist mob, roaming the streets, forcing people out of their homes, burning mosques to the ground, killing dozens. And once again, the security forces largely stand by, allowing another massacre.
Facebook's unintended complicity in the tragedy highlights the need for greater ethical considerations in the development and regulation of social media platforms.
Yeah, the Muslims in my village are stockpiling guns at the behest of Saudi Arabia, and they're gonna take over unless we go and kill them first. And it would get thousands of shares.
And detailed accounts of what can only be described as a premeditated massacre.
And together, the military and the civilians kicked down doors. They burned down homes and mosques. They killed indiscriminately, committing horrific acts of violence. The rampage was widespread and systematic.
Rohingya villagers had fled in terror when troops and their own Buddhist neighbors rampaged into Chenkali and then tortured.
Outside observers, this event might have looked like spontaneous violence, but this was actually the result of a coordinated campaign by a few key people with access to technology that allowed them to reach millions, to lie to them in the most hateful ways, to warp their reality.
As we navigate the complexities of the digital age, the lessons from Myanmar underscore the profound responsibility that tech giants bear in preventing the devastating consequences of their influence on vulnerable communities.
In 2021, these military leaders who were responsible for this ethnic cleansing of the Rohingya people, they took over the country again. They removed the elected government in yet another coup. Kutu Palang, the refugee camp in Bangladesh, now holds over 1 million people, most of them Rohingya, fleeing the violence in their home. So they sit in their refugee camp without a country and without support, which is why we are raising as much money as we can to support them. Facebook claims that they changed their practices since the massacre of 2016.
The tragedy of the Rohingya serves as a stark reminder that the true cost of connectivity demands a collective commitment to ethical practices and a relentless pursuit of a more responsible and compassionate digital future.